Kihei Clark, 71 wins, the winningest player in ACC history. We'll talk about his very, very wild 20th win for Virginia this season. More important than that, we got to talk about maybe some flat balls, some poorly timed possessions at the end of the game for Louisville that wrapped up the season. That just lets me say, maybe it's time to fire my boy Kenny Payne.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper. We're talking through Kenny Payne and the boys not being able to close it out and figure out ways to win against number 7 Virginia. But like we always say, it's always going to be a difficult night in ACC men's basketball play, and that was certainly the case for all things men's basketball Wednesday night. The Hokies had a tough time, and Clemson was able to take care of business. But overall, I'm just trying to say, this tournament is going to be nuts. There's going to be some clutch shots, some missed opportunities, some bad officiating, all the things that make for great entertaining basketball. Ken, what we think?
I am disappointed, shocked, hurt, let down, if you will. That was my ticket to go see Quantumania that I now have to pay out to my ever so talented, ever so lovely co-host here, because Virginia, you didn't even pinch the spread. You didn't even pinch 16.5-point favorites. Didn't even sniff the spread. Wasn't even in the same area.
Why are you surprised? 16.5 is ridiculous. One, Louisville actually has been improving too. And low scoring people, that's all Louisville needed. Low scoring, hey, we got this. Might have to play a little defense. But all we need is a little low scoring.
Here's the problem. Okay? Because normally I'm right there with you, sister. I'm right there with you, okay? If we look at Louisville over the past few games, okay, you have Miami, who they lost to by 8, and Virginia, who they lost to by 3. You're right. Yeah, those are 2 close games. Well, let's take a look at what happened before that, shall we?
We don't have to. We need to revisit what's here. Don't go what's back. Don't go backwards. Don't do that.
But that's my point.
Like that.
That's
don't
my
embarrass
point.
him like that.
That's my point. UVA should have took care of business. They should. I'm disappointed. I said those nice things about UVA. Listen, a win is a win. A win is a win. I'm sure UVA is happy with the win. But there's a lot of people real disappointed.
Run me my money. I want my $20.
Again, I would like to let you know now that I will not be going to see Quantumania because of this, and I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth the Kihei in getting your little win, winning this player of all time, not the spread covering this player of all time. And that's what mattered to me.
Oh my gosh. It's, as you mentioned, Kihei Clark, big time point guard for Virginia, 71 wins, most wins ever by an ACC player, passing Duke's Shane Battier. Now I asked this, okay? Shane Battier, he was there for 4 years? Kihei Clark getting his 5th year. How the records, will it be as great because all these guys get this COVID year if records get passed? Will you say to yourself, if you get these 5 years, you had more time to get these stats going? It's still the same energy?
I mean, here's the thing. I have always been, since I was younger, been a per game guy. And what do I mean by that? So basically, people talk about, Justin Jefferson getting ready to breaking. I don't know if he broke Calvin Johnson's receiving record or not, but as a Lions fan, a lot of the Lions fan spaces I was in were like, oh, it's not the same. He had 17 games and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, Calvin Johnson had 16 and Jerry Rice never played, or Jerry Rice until he was well past his prime, didn't play 16-game seasons. So we don't know what he would have done with 16 games. However, if we go on a per game average, to me, that's what does it the best. And how do you per game wins? Well, you can't. You can't per game wins. So what do you do instead? You take the winning percentage and you say, hey, this is the winningest player because this player won 88% of the game, 90% of the game, 95% of the games. This guy, when he was on your team, you just didn't lose. So, I think that winning percentage over like 3+ years should be taken into consideration more than like, well, I mean, he just played more, it's not really the same deal.
100% agree there. I also think, like, at the end of the day, stats are stats, records are records, all the good things. Because I think we're living in it and we're doing it real time, it hasn't like sunk in for a lot of people, but maybe as we're going through, like, I think about LeBron, there was a topic conversation around LeBron and Kareem and like, are we just poo-poo about LeBron because we are still living in it? And it's like, is it still great because, it is, this all-time scorer list, it's Kihei Clark winningest player, but because we're just sitting in it, we're not really marinating on all the greatness that we're seeing in front of us, we don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it because I think Kihei Clark is greatly underappreciated. I think that he is one of those players that, like, he has always been a tier below Naismith Player of the Year consideration. And so it's like, oh, he's nothing special. But when you think about the sustained level that he's performed at,
right,
and the way that he's kind of running and, been the general of that offense for how long he's been the general of that offense, it's nothing short of impressive. It's nothing short. I wouldn't call it miraculous, but it's nothing short of like, not too many guards can do that. Not too many with the limitations that he has in terms of size and athleticism. You're not going to see too many guards who can compete in the ACC, not only compete in the ACC, but win a national championship, but be really, really good for this long. So I think that it's one of those moments where in 2023, we've become very pessimistic and cynical of everything. And so, when Brown breaks the record, it's a longevity. He plays long enough. He's top 5 all time in points per game. That's the per game thing I was talking about, right? Like, per game, he's one of the best scorers ever. Like, even if you just say random 10-game sample with his average, he'll have the 4th highest of all time if you do it that way.
Yeah.
The same thing can be said for Kihei Clark, right? In terms of winning, he positively impacts winning. Like, he's not just on teams that won. He's a large part of the reason that these teams are winning. And again, we live in such a microwave society that we don't know how to cook oxtails no more, right? we don't know that some things, they take time. You got to put those on the stove. You got to kind of wait on it, check on it, stir it a little bit throughout the day and come back to it and know that you're going to have something delicious at the end. Everybody instead wants to say, I want to put this in the microwave right now, and I want it rolling. And don't worry, Peninsula P, we're going to get the pit. We're going to get the pit for you, Peninsula P.
Hail to Pitt, definitely first place. Virginia is certainly knocking on that door. They are going to have to win out. I think Pitt is going to fall to Miami, as we talked about on yesterday's show, but it'll be all fun, all the same, just to figure out who is going to be the regular season champions right now. Definitely a close race between the Cavs and the Panthers. Now, as we talk about Kihei, there was some mentioning during last night's game that there were some ball issues, deflate gate, if you will, during the Pitt or the Virginia Louisville matchup. And I say to myself, if Tony Bennett really had an issue, if there was really an issue about how flat the balls were, that's kind of lame to make that to be an excuse of why Louisville was in that bad boy. Because I think that you're not hitting the free throws. I think that Louisville actually played up to snuff was the reason why they were in that game.
So it wasn't the officiating this time.
We're fine. It's not the refs. Now it's the balls. At this point, does the ACC even care about us? If we're not giving you quality equipment, quality officiating, like, golly, we're just the YMCA league at this point.
But isn't there like a standard to measure those things too? Like, don't they?
1,000%.
I was just about to say,
do they not check the balls before the game starts?
Yeah,
and they're shooting around and they pick the ball?
Because in football, they definitely check the balls. They definitely like, oh, okay, this is the ball that you're using for offense. Okay, great. Here we go. This is the ball that you're using for kicking off and all that good stuff. Okay, here you go. Let's see how it floats. Because they had a thing where somebody was putting helium in their like balls for kicking. And so they start doing like tests of like how balls fly in the air and all that. Before a game. So
now this is the second time we've had ball issues. Kara Lawson, if you will, Florida State, saying we playing with men's ball. She ripped it because she said, after they took the L, like, oh, this is unacceptable, and like we're way past this as a league, and da. So people feeling a way about ACC. Out, Jim, if you're listening, Mr. Phillips, you got some explaining to do.
Mr. Phillips, fix your balls. Get your balls together, Jim.
Needless to say, he will have a lot of time and conversations as we head through these next couple games. But first, the midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel. Apparently, the Lakers are good now. The Nets are great now. So, you have an opportunity to get in some action because new customers get a new no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything on the money line to point scorers and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss out on your chance to get no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're rocking and rolling with Kenton Gibbs here. We're talking through last night's matchups for the men. We already touched on what was going to go down for the women, but here, let me tell you, okay, Virginia Tech, I'm done with y'all. I'm done with y'all. I'm trying to be excited. I'm trying to be excited. The same way I might be done with Kenny Payne, bro. I might be done with Kenny. After last night's game and seeing that ending, I said to myself, you know what? It's coming from up top. Because the fact either your boys don't understand running plays because they didn't get an extra timeout, don't know what the issue was, but it was like, who's going to be the guy to shoot the last shot? Just wasting time. Then you have 0.1 seconds. You didn't even hoist it. You didn't even try.
For those of you who are familiar with Noriega drink champs, let's clap it up. For Candace Cooper. Let's take a shot to that. Everybody, let's take a shot. Never mind. It's too early. You're an alcoholic to take shots this early. But
I'm done. I'm done with Kenny Payne. I'm done with Virginia Tech. I'm done.
You weren't done with Kenny Payne after the Bellarmine loss?
I thought there was improvement. Bellarmine, that was so early. There was time to turn things. There was time to turn things around. Around.
Sure. You weren't done with them after back-to-back 30-point losses?
I said maybe. And I thought, listen, he has personal testimony. He played he understands what it takes. But is it self-sabotage? Is it quiet quitting? I don't know what his reasoning is, but the same way I'm done with Kenny, I'm done with Virginia Tech. I'm just done with y'all. I've tried. I have risen above. I have tried to advocate for. I'm done. Virginia Tech especially. 77-70 loss to Georgia Tech, a team that is struggling, but they have been playing hard for their coach. Now, that is the Fighting Pastors. I don't see the Fighting Paynes the same way.
I agree.
Especially because they didn't hoist that bad boy. That to me said, F it, I don't even care.
Again, this is a horrible team. This is not a bad
They're
team.
not a horrible team. Ellis isn't horrible. Okay.
One good player does not a decent team make. That team is nasty, filthy, rundown, bad. Now, here's the thing. I hope that Louisville gets better. Louisville has a higher ceiling than a vast majority of programs in the ACC. That's been objectively proven in terms of what they've been in the past and as a program. This team, however, this is one of the worst in recent history. This is one of
worst teams in ACC or college basketball. Did you even go that far?
Okay, ACC. Okay. I wouldn't go as far as that because there are always some teams at the bottom of college basketball that you're just like, wait, that team is how bad? Oh,
but I would put my boys from East LA up here against them. Honestly,
honestly, bring in Coach John. Bring him on in. Come on, bring in what is it, Coach Moses? What is it? Bring him in.
Coach Mosley.
Mm-hmm, there we go. Mosley. Apologies, Coach Mosley. We're big fans of Last Chance U on this show. 100%. Big fans, really big fans. But anyway, no, this team is bad.
But Virginia Tech might be just as bad. I think they're almost worse because they have better players and they're just not playing up to their standard. And they have a good coach.
Now listen.
And they have a good coach.
You know what? Can we talk about Pitt and how good they are? Because I don't want to talk about Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech
Pitt didn't play last night.
Virginia Tech is not as bad as Louisville. They're not in that same category.
But you, to me, are worse because you have better players. You have more talent, and you won last year with some of the guys still on the court. So explain to me, as veteran leaders, how you guys lose to a Georgia Tech team. How you guys, how many ACC wins do you have on the year?
5. They're 5 and 10.
5 and 10. That's want to. That's not for lack of talent. That's want to. You can only do so much as a coach.
But you know what? Virginia Tech's strength of schedule is horrible, but so is Louisville's. However, Virginia Tech has a winning record. They're 15 and 11. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament. They're not going to make the NIT most likely. But you know what Virginia Tech is going to do? Finish the season most likely with a winning record, or at least something close.
You know what they are going to do? They're going to upset some jokers in the ACC tournament, and that's going to piss everybody. I'm trying to tell you, that's just what it's going to be.
Are you off the train or no? When I finally thought that we got you moving in the right direction, away from the Blacksburg bandwagon, you hop right back on. Oh, they're going to upset somebody.
I think they are, and I think there's going to be more upsets than people are willing to admit here.
They may upset a better or two. They may upset somebody by, making sure that the team doesn't cover the spread. That's about it.
They're gonna have to play on Tuesday now. They're gonna have to earn their lunch.
They're gonna earn their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You understand?
A little dessert too, because God somebody.
Oh no, they're not getting dessert. They're just gonna earn that breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. They gotta earn the kind bars that they get, or else they get what's that? The Nutri-Grain, the Valley bar, the
Nature Valley,
the ones that you open up and it's just dust everywhere. They're gonna earn it all. They're gonna earn it all because they didn't earn it during the season. They didn't earn it during this regular season. So
that's true.
This Virginia Tech team is perplexing. And you felt like I was with you on the bandwagon, like, oh, they're going to get a turnaround. They're going to get a turnaround.
Yeah.
But after a while, like after waiting on somebody to get something right for so long, the best predictor of future.
You got to know when to cut your losses. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm not there yet, though. I'm not completely. Okay. I'm cut. I can't decide. I might be on the wagon tomorrow. We'll see. Clemson, though, said, listen, we let y'all play around with us one time. We ain't letting y'all play around with us twice. Beating Florida State 94-54. This is Florida State regressing in the worst way at the worst possible time to me.
I don't really see this as Florida State regressing. I see this as, like, we've seen this multiple times with Florida State this season. When you come out and punch them in the mouth and you keep punching, they don't respond well to that. Like they're used to, because a lot of teams in the ACC do this thing where they play with their food. They get the lead, and then all of a sudden, whatever brought them to the dance to have that big lead, they abandon them. They abandoned whatever it was that brought them to that lead. And like, oh, let's try this other thing. Oh, let's not be so aggressive. Oh, let's not be so locked in. Clemson said, hey, buddy, we're mad. We're upset. Alexa, play Drake. I'm upset because we're really angry today, and you're going to feel all of our wrath for the entire 40 minutes. 20-minute halves, both of them. You're going to feel how upset we are about what happened to us in Chapel Hill.
Absolutely agree. And I think that Clemson definitely put us on notice that they still are one of the best teams here in the ACC, which makes it even more fun for the idea that anything can happen. Anything is possible in this year's tournament.
I think that there was too many prisoners of the moment. I think that yes, that was a disgusting performance in Chapel Hill. I'm not, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. However, again, this is that popcorn society, right? Oh, Lord, or this is that microwave society. Oh, Lord, there's a bad game. They're horrible. We were waiting on this. We knew that they weren't real. Knock it off. They've shown over an entire season a prolonged sample size of this is who we are. And you keep saying, oh, the other foot's going to drop. The other foot. Baby, the other foot dropped at game 15, and they kept winning. They kept winning. So it to me is one of those things where when you look at the totality of who they are, this game should be less surprising than what happened in Chapel Hill.
1,000%. There's a lot more basketball happening towards the end of the week here. Make sure we'll keep y'all abreast of that. As we went over on yesterday's show, the women's games are going down tonight, so make sure you check all of those out. I think it'll be excellent. I'm going to do a recap of the show here because I think it's important that we just reassess and make sure that we're on the same page before we get out of here, Kenton. So Virginia had Kihei Clark, winningest player ever in ACC history. The balls were deflated or not deflated? Have we come to this? What do we feel like really happened for Louisville and Virginia?
I hated the NFL Deflategate. I'm not going to talk about a college basketball Deflategate. This is nonsense. If the balls were deflated, here's my problem with moments like this when coaches complain about stuff like this. If the balls are deflated, if you're playing with men's balls, put the ball down, tell your team to sit on the bench, tell them to get the regulation equipment out, or you're not playing. You're Virginia. You have that type of juice within the conference. You don't. This is not like you're a Johnny come lately. That's like, hey, I'm just happy to get a party, everybody.
Yeah,
we're little old Virginia basketball. We ain't won nothing. We never did nothing. Tony Bennett, you're the best coach in the league by a mile. By a mile. It's not even close.
Yeah.
No offense, Jeff. No offense. I know I don't want y'all to say I disrespected you. I don't want to. I don't want that label thrown on me. But you're the best coach in the league by a good bit in terms of your resume, in terms of the things you've done.
Yeah.
Baby, go ahead and tell your players, everybody, Kihei, we're going to get you to be the winningest player after they get us the regulation balls that we need.
Got it. Kenny Payne should or should not be fired?
Here's the thing.
Hey, Lord, I'm tired.
Here's the thing about this Kenny Payne situation.
Yeah.
Kenny Payne is the reason that I try hard to not say never, because I very strongly am against coaches being fired after 1 year, especially in college.
Does L. Ellis stay?
However, as poorly as this team has performed, you can't tell me that this team is this bad. You can't tell me that this team is devoid enough of talent to only have 3 wins through 26 games.
Are these Coach Mack's recruits? I'm wondering, are Coach Payne's kids that he brought to Louisville?
This is Kenny Payne's first year, correct, as the head coach. So, I mean, these de facto can't be his guys, but even still, whether they're your guys or not, here's my thing, right? Whether they're your guys or not could determine whether you have the difference between 5 or 15 conference wins.
Sure.
Right? I could see that. We're talking 5 wins in total on the season is what you're looking at right now. You're 3-23.
So you would fire him? Would you have hard conversation as an AD? Listen, the leash is very short.
I would say this. I would say at most,
Kenton.
you got through the first half of next season.
Yeah.
Be comfortable. Know that you're going to be here through the first half of next. At most, you got the first half of next season. If I do not see market improvement, if I do not see very notable, I promise you, if you're at 3 wins through half the season next year, with the transfer portal, the way that that's rocking, with the history of Louisville basketball, the way that that's rocked, with the players that we got, if you cannot go out there, say what you want about Coach Kevin Keats.
Yeah.
What does he say? He may not be able to draw up a play, but you know what he can do? Draw in a good baller.
Kenton Gibbs.
He can draw in a baller. He can draw. You say what you want. DJ Burns posting up at the 3-point line, but you know what? He gonna work that move to the left, and it's gonna work. It's gonna shake for something. God. Say what you want about Hubie Davis. He can't get those players on the leash. He can't make them be cohesive. You know what he can do? He can make a winner. He can do something that worked out. So when I look at this team, and I look at how bad Louisville is, at the most leash I'm giving them first half of next year, if I don't see improvement, you're gone. Because I'm not going through multiple years of 5 wins. 5 total wins? Baby, go schedule the Island of Missing Toys Community College. Go. What?
I cannot stand you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I think that he makes it through this cycle. I think he's going to be safe. But I think there's some stern conversations that are going to be had. I think there's going to be some readjustments in the contract for sure. I think he got a 4 to 5 year deal?
This is, I don't know how long his contract is, but this is the one time where if a coach was fired after 1 year, you wouldn't hear people protest out of me. Because this is not, again, like when Wilkes was fired with the Cardinals, I looked up and I'm like, that team was devoid of talent. Like a very old Larry Fitzgerald that was probably running like a 4.8 at the time was their best player. And you're like, oh, we're going to get rid of you because you can't win with Josh Rosen at quarterback.
Did you say Louisville was devoid of talent, though, besides L?
Yeah, but devoid of talent in comparison to the ACC. Like, devoid of talent in that, you look at the most talented on-paper team would probably be UNC, right?
Sure.
Okay, UNC has, I
would say Virginia.
Okay, Virginia, most talented team on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia's team on paper, you've got Kihei Clark, the general, the guy who's been there forever. You got Armand Franklin, the do everything guy, super explosive, super athletic. You got McNeely, the upstart, the young buck.
The Vanderplas, all the guys, yeah.
Exactly. Peninsula P, you're right. Nolan Smith should be doing the Birdman hand rub because that position should be coming open fairly soon here. But now you've got Vanderklaus. You've got what's the big light-skinned guy's name? Shedrick.
Shedrick. Mm-hmm.
He's been there for a minute, and he is a very good presence inside when he wants to be and when he's locked in defensively and on the board. You've got ball players at every position and off the bench, right?
Sure.
That's what talented looks like in the ACC, a loaded roster per se.
That's the standard?
That is the high version.
Version.
The mid version of it should be like, you got 2 to 3 guys that you can say, all right.
Jaquavion Smith, Jarkel Joyner, DJ Burns.
I would say that NC State is actually one of the more talented rosters. I would say they're in the top 4. I would say they're the top 4 most talented rosters. I think when I look at a mid-talented roster, I would say Virginia Tech. They're mid-talented. Now, they're underperforming for the mid-talented range that they're in, but they're mid-talented. This Louisville team has one player that I look at and say, oh, he's a baller's baller, but they got a big that's on the bench right now that I'm looking at like he was a baller at times last year, finished the season averaging darn near a double-double at the end of the season. So when I look at this Louisville team, I'm saying I don't care how bad you are in comparison to the ACC. When you go out and play the Southeastern Delta Valley State Directional School for the differently able, you need to be able to get me a win. Okay? You need to be able to beat Bellarmine. I'm sorry, Bellarmine. No disrespect to your school. Louisville needs to win that game.
And that's on period. I 100% agree with you. I think that he makes it through. I think there are stern conversations that definitely are to be had. I don't know that he makes it through season 2. If it starts out the same way, there have to be some definite wins from obvious opponents for him to feel even a little bit insecure. Give him some grace. Very short grace. That's all I got to say for that one. But I appreciate the sentiment because I agree. It's been a tough go for Louisville, especially for a program that is so historic that it is. All right, well, cool. We got our marching orders as we go on. We'll recap the women's games here on tomorrow's episode, and we'll preview some of the Saturday games for the men and get your betting ready. So make sure you have your FanDuel app nice and loaded. It's this official sportsbook partner for Locked On, so you want to be good to go there. Locked On college basketball. If you want to talk about Bama getting upset, Tennessee just doing this thing, it's really hurting Alabama's feelings this year. Tennessee is just making some real staples going down. Check out Locked On Basketball, Locked On College Basketball here on the Locked On Podcast Network. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, have a great rest of your day. Until next time.